It's WST Sunday Live, hosted by Hrabchak, Lyss Houde, and Jacob Stoller.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into a bonus edition of WST Sunday Live on a Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. As you know, we go live every single Sunday at 9 a.m. My name's Hrabchak. She's Lyss Houde. Jacob Stoller from sportsnet.ca, unable to join us tonight. But thank you, everyone, for joining us at this special start time. We didn't want to go too long without talking about the Winnipeg Jets. It's the playoffs. We want to up our game here. And Sunday morning at 9 a.m., we covered game one. We had Elliot Friedman on the show, and that was a super fun one. And we're back breaking down game two. The Winnipeg Jets now taking a 2-0 series lead over the St. Louis Blues. And thank you, everyone, for joining us in chat. We really appreciate it. Lyss, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. I am psyched that we're here because I feel like, I don't know, man, maybe it's just the yapper nature that I have and that I embody everywhere I go, but I couldn't wait till Sunday to keep talking about this Winnipeg Jets team and where they're at right now. We got lots to talk about from this game too, because that surely did not disappoint if anyone was looking for an exciting hockey game on this beautiful Monday night.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you were out on the street party again, doing some great street content for the Winnipeg Sports Talk socials. Great job from game one. That the reels that we saw from that one. What was the playoff atmosphere like for game two? Another nail biter, not quite the late goal with 1 minute left, but another beautiful day in Winnipeg with people out partying, I would imagine.
Yeah, it was a blast, right? And I think, all of my friends who went with me to the street party, they were like, thank you for telling me to dress warm. It does get a little chilly when the sun goes down out there, but everyone's so dialed and so excited to be there. And listen, like, I have nothing but good things to say about how the street parties are set up. It's really easy to find accessible viewing, to be able to see from different areas. The lines for food were pretty short, all things considered. Lines for drinks, those are always going to be a bit longer. It is what it is, but lots of room to get around, and they have those lanes alongside the building and along the other side of the street, so you can get back and forth pretty quickly if you need to. They're well set up, and it's such a fun time out there. And to give a special shout out to everybody who is there, who comes and says hello because they listen to WST. It's so nice to meet so many new faces out there. So many folks come by and say, hey, like, love the Sunday shows, love the big show, love seeing you guys doing the content. It was so great to meet so many people. So if you can continue to see Connor and myself and Jacob and Remus and Huss and everybody out there, come say hi. It's so nice to meet so many of you, because we appreciate the support you give us every single day.
100%. And I don't know who it was, because I was walking by them so quickly, but as I was sprinting downstairs to go do media and hear from the players after the game, someone on the stairs where the fan stairs kind of like intersect with the media stairs, someone yelled my name, and I was just like, hey, how's it going? Like, I don't know, someone who probably a big time WST listener. But yeah, it was a fun atmosphere to be a part of inside the building as well. I mean, like I said, game one, you score with a minute left, the roof blows off that place, and it's just a party for the next 10 minutes when there's a scrum and there's an empty net goal and everything's happening there. This one a little bit different. But man, from the start of the game all the way through the third period, when the Jets were locking things down in the third, that crowd was absolutely buzzing. And yeah, this city's on fire right now, because the Winnipeg Jets are up 2-0, and coming out of game two, that was maybe a more entertaining game than game one, because my goodness, was that ever physical? That was playoff hockey. I mean, Luke Schenn was hitting his brother like multiple times throughout the game. Braden Schenn had a huge hit on Adam Lowry. We'll get into Logan Stanley's hit on Jordan Kyrou, I'm sure. And that was just,
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, I don't remember that one. Did you see that one on social media at all? No, but just what a game, Lyss, in terms of the intensity. And everyone always talks about, the physicality of the playoffs stepping up. This was a game where you saw it on full display.
Yeah, I mean, I love a game like that where you have a nice balance of two good hockey teams who play fun hockey, have really great players, but then also the, capital P, capital H playoff hockey that we often see, where sometimes when you get to the playoffs, especially early on when players are still trying to feel it out and get a vibe for kind of how the playoffs are going to go, hockey gets a little bit boring. And I say that with affection because I love playoff hockey, but sometimes, when you're watching a game, especially if you have no stakes in either of the teams, like, no slot shots and only perimeter. Like it can get a little bit dull. This had a great balance of like that high intensity, high octane energy, while also not, removing all the elements that make Mark Scheifele's game so fun, that make Jordan Kyrou's game so fun, and all these
For
different
sure.
players. So I thought it was an awesome game.
Yeah, 100%. And I see some people, it's been brought up a few times already. Yeah, here's Luke saying, looking forward to the playoff record with Dylan Samberg in the lineup update. Turd Ferguson saying, has anyone given any thought to the Jets record with Dylan Samberg in the lineup? It must be incredible if anyone's tracking it. Don't you worry. Part of the reason we went live tonight is because of how good Dylan Samberg played. I need my moment to just talk for hours and hours on end. Well, not that long. We're not going that long tonight, but Dylan Samberg, I mean, we'll get into it later on for sure. But I do want to start maybe with Connor Hellebuyck list, because this game started with Connor Hellebuyck, I should add, where in the first 5 minutes, Robert Thomas had a really good slot shot wide open. I think Jordan Kyrou had a really good chance. Buchnevich had a great chance in front as well. Snuggerud had a good chance, who ended up scoring later in the period. But Connor Hellebuyck, coming out of game one, some national media criticism. His save percentage was low, even though he made the big save late in the second on Jordan Kyrou. And right off the hop in game two, you could see that he was dialed in and kept the Jets in that game and in the early going, and allowed them to take a 1-0 lead later on with Scheifele.
We talk about how Connor Hellebuyck prefers to get peppered with shots, right? He likes to play a lot of games. He likes to get a decent amount of action. And, the Winnipeg Jets have certainly given him no shortage of action over the last few years, with him having played such an important role. And I think that both games, first couple minutes of the game, nobody looked really good, in my opinion. Like, even this game, the Jets came out a little bit flatter than I was thinking that they were going to. And then that includes Connor Hellebuyck, right? And yeah, you were right. There was a little bit of kind of, energy to really start that one off. But as the game progressed, holy smokes, what a brick wall, right? And I think, the penalty kill is something that I'm sure we're going to talk about. Everyone's been talking about special teams kind of as a whole. A goalie is a big part of the penalty kill as well. And other than just the Jimmy Snuggerud goal, like, listen, like, we can talk about that if you want to, but like, sometimes, and Thomas Drance and Dmitry Filipovich, gotta always shout them out, because I feel like I refer everything back to what they say. But on the PDO cast on the Sunday special this week, we're talking about how sometimes, like, good players take good shots, and there isn't really much of a storyline to be had about who's out of position, who screwed up, and all these different sorts of things on the specific play of the shot. How the player got the puck, I guess there's more of a conversation to be had there. But with that buzzer beater of a goal, like, I'm not too concerned about it. And that's all that got past Connor Hellebuyck last night, right? Like, I think that this is he's moving in the right trajectory, and we talk about how he wants more shots and, lots of action and all that sort of stuff. As the playoffs progress, I'm convinced that he's going to just get better and better. And I think that the problem is, in the past, they haven't had time for him to get better and better, because it's been 5 and done for the Winnipeg Jets, because nobody's been at their best. But I think if the Jets can continue to play more games, we know they have at least 4 left, right? So there's definitely more hockey to come for this club. I don't know. I think I'm feeling good about Connor Hellebuyck right now. What about you?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, I was never really concerned in the first place. You watch the goals even in game one, and yes, you look at the Jumbotron and it says 3 goals on 10 shots. You're like, uh-oh, is this playoff Connor Hellebuyck that everyone seems to love to mention? And then in game two, he reminded everyone that he's the best goalie in the league, and made some huge saves in that game as well. And I like this comment from James Robinson here saying, hard to pump up those goalie stats when there are only 2 shots in a period. The Jets have played the Blues now 3 times in the last month. It was April 7th in the regular season, and then the first 2 playoff games. In all 3 of the third periods of those 3 hockey games, they've allowed a combined 11 shots in the third across 3 third periods.
That's
in
absurd.
Games
That's
where
nuts.
Game 1, they were trailing. Game 1, they were trailing. So they needed to push, and they did, and they locked things down. Game 2, they were winning and completely locked things down, when maybe you'd think that the Blues would have more of a push. And I don't know, like this Jets defensive structure, we talked about it all year long. It was something that Rick Bowness instilled in this group, and Scott O'Neill has kind of carried forward, but you're seeing it come through in playoff games in the third period now. Like, this just feels like such a higher level to me. And then when they break that structure, you have Connor Hellebuyck back there, who made some huge saves in game 2 as well. And a big part of that defensive structure, Lyss, is Dylan Samberg. Let's get right into Dylan Samberg. The Winnipeg Jets are 2-0 when he starts and finishes a game in this year's playoffs, folks. On the season, I believe that's now 47-12-2 or 48-12-2 if you're combining regular
48
season.
now.
48-12-2 now. Yeah, with the regular season and the playoffs. And this was I've raved a lot about Dylan Samberg this year, and he's played some magnificent games. I remember the game against Dallas on April 14th. That was such a huge game going into the playoffs and for the, or maybe that was the home game actually, where Dylan Samberg opened the scoring. And that was such a huge game. He showed up, opened the scoring in that one. And then he had that game in Seattle where he scored the overtime winner, and he was great in that game as well. This was the best game Dylan Samberg has played this season. The amount of pucks he knocked down at the defensive blue line, you cannot count with both hands worth of fingers. Like, it was like 15 or 20 times he denied an entry where, and Garrett Hole tweeted out his tracking stats. Samberg was up to like 15 zone entry denials on the series, and second best on the Jets was DeMello with 9 or something. And he's unbelievable. There was many times where there'd be a 3-on-2 and he would break up the play and make it look so routine as well. One play that I think people will remember is his spinning poke check, where it's a 3-on-2. He goes to kind of jam the puck coming across and misses, which how many times do we see him miss that? Not often. It's such a subtle play. Dylan DeMello does that all the time too. He misses, spins around without even looking, spins and poke checks the puck off of Jimmy Snuggerud's stick in a high danger spot, and then gets the puck on the wall. And this is maybe where Dylan Samberg has taken a step this year. Instead of just firing it, he stays calm and composed, takes a hit to make a play, and gets the puck to Mark Scheifele, and the Jets are 3-on-2 the other way. I don't even know. Like, I have been a big Dylan Samberg fan all year long.
Really?
And I was just in awe last night on how well he played. Lyss, I know you're not going to be as like dramatic as I'm being right now on Dylan Samberg, but what did you think of his play?
I thought he was good. And listen, I didn't think any of the defensemen were good in game one. I thought they were good. I thought they were fine.
I think that's worth mentioning too. Scar Neal said today that Samberg was one of the more nervous players. I didn't think he played well in game one, and this was a huge step up. Yeah.
Well, and we talked to him on Sunday, right, between game one and game two, and there was some admission there that he's like, yeah, we were nervous. And talk about a guy though that if anyone's allowed to be nervous, a guy who there is no one on the Winnipeg Jets whose role has been elevated to the degree that his has. Last year, a guy who were kind of, like obviously we knew that Dylan Samberg had some juice to him for sure. Don't get me wrong, but he's the second most important defenseman on this team right now. And like, that's a huge jump to take. And you know that you're going out there and Scott Arniel and Dean Chenoweth are going to look you in the eye and they're going to be like, yeah, Rob Thomas is going out there. So are you, buddy. Have fun. Like that's a lot of pressure to put on someone who's still pretty junior in their career. Like all things considered, we know that he plays with the poise of a pro, but he's still pretty young. And so if anyone's allowed to be nervous, it's a guy like Dylan Samberg, right? And I think he falls into the same category as Connor Hellebuyck in that I think as the series progress, he's going to just get better. And we saw that to the nth degree yesterday in terms of a comparison to game one. He looked a lot more comfortable out there. And yeah, the zone denials, that's why evaluating defensemen can be so difficult. And it can be hard to sometimes notice all the good things that they do because there just wasn't a lot of action in the D zone with Dylan Samberg. There were a lot of pucks in the neutral zone because, like you said, knocking him down as St. Louis was coming in off the rush. And you talk about St. Louis being like a good forechecking team and being hard on pucks and all those sorts of things, but any hockey team and any group of professional hockey players, you always talk about this with the stats bros or whatever you want to call them. Rush chances are always the most dangerous ones. They're fast, they're quick, they're the first one. The first one that comes in is always going to be the most dangerous. And anything that comes after that is only going to happen if you're able to manage the rush properly. Right. Obviously you could chip it in, right? Like that's the chance that you're going for. Even if you're more of a Carolina dump and chase kind of tenacious team or whatever, you still take a rush chance when a rush chance is available. And there weren't a lot available yesterday when Dylan Samberg was on the ice. So I absolutely give him my flowers as well. I think that he was good. I also think that Neil Pionk was good. There were a couple moments where, I've always been a fan of Neil Pionk's one-on-one defending. I really do like him kind of in isolated sequences. And there were a couple moments where I thought he had some really good stuff, especially managing kind of the left side there. Cause there was, I don't have a shot map pulled up in front of me, but you got to think there were a lot more coming from that side than from the other. And so I thought that pairing as a whole was pretty good. And maybe to a lesser dramatic degree, but I definitely do echo your sentiment on how good Dylan Samberg was yesterday.
Yes, well, thank you for validating my love for Dylan Samberg.
We're gonna fight about defensemen later, though. I know it, so just hold on for now.
We'll get there. We'll get there. But yeah, there was a play in the third period, and props to the crowd as well inside Canada Life Center for being such like a knowledgeable bunch and knowing how impressive of a play this was. But Braden Shen was coming in on kind of a 2-on-2, and Neil Pionk had the other guy covered, so it was really a 1-on-1. And like Dylan Samberg is such an effective backward skater. It's incredible. He's staying stride for stride with Braden Shen. Shen tries to go to the outside. Samberg pokes it away and then fights to get to the front side of Braden Shen and chips the puck. And it ends up behind the Jets net with absolutely zero pressure behind. Like it's a 2-on-2. If Scheifele and Connor have a 2-on-2 against really anyone on the Blues, I'm taking that. If I'm the Jets, numbers advantage, you can do so many different things. And Dylan Samberg just skates backwards, uses his incredible reach to poke the puck away, and the Jets get possession of the puck. So I thought he had one of his better games of the season. I said it earlier. I think he played one of his best games as a Jet this season. And he played 24 minutes and 30 seconds. That led the Jets in time on ice. In 1928 of even strength minutes, with him on the ice, the Jets led in shots 10-5, scoring chances 8-3, high danger chances 5-1, and 70% of the expected goals. So there were no goals when he was on the ice, whether for the Jets or against the Jets, but they clearly controlled play, and Dylan Samberg's ability to shut plays down off the rush was evident. And in a playoff game, I mean, that's just the stage doesn't get any bigger than that. And doing it against the best players for the Blues as well. This has been such a revelation for this year's Winnipeg Jets, is Dylan Samberg being an elite shutdown defender. And that was just fun. That was just fun to watch him knock plays down to the blue line time after time. The next guy I want to ask you about, Lyss, is Kyle Connor. Danica Smith here saying, who's played better, Scheifele or Connor? Scheifele more points, but Connor's got 2 game winners. Maybe
Don't
both
pit
of them.
2 beautiful queens against each other.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, maybe just a note on both of them. I mean, Mark Scheifele, he had the goal to get things going, took the puck to the net. Definitely a lucky bounce. He's 2 goals in this series, and he hasn't attempted a shot on goal on either of them. I mean, the first one, he was passing the puck through the crease. This one, he was taking the puck to the net, definitely trying to score, but it went off a defender skating in. And then Kyle Connor, you can't leave that guy wide open in the slot. That wide open in the slot, especially in a tie hockey game. But just a quick thought on those 2 players specifically, Lyss.
Yeah, I mean, if there are any St. Louis folks that have tuned in to try and get the lay of the land of the Winnipeg Jets, and if you're a St. Louis Blues fan listening to this, I need you to know that Mark Scheifele is doing all these things, skating at like a 45% of what he's capable of skating. It's so funny watching how dominant this player can be. And you see his like 80% speed burst like twice per game. Like it's absolutely hilarious to watch Mark Scheifele play hockey. And like, man, oh man, I've said this for years that the Winnipeg Jets live and die by Mark Scheifele. When he's playing well, it really dictates the way the team is going, even more so in my opinion than Connor Hellebuyck. I think that's you. Mark Scheifele and
Kyle.
Josh Morrissey are the ones who kind of lift the game up for the Winnipeg Jets in terms of kind of the caliber. And at the same time, when they're playing poorly, there's not a hope for this team, really. Like it's really hard to watch this team play when their best players are not playing well, because there's only so much the depth guys can do. And right now we're seeing what happens when you have a full team of guys playing pretty good hockey. That last game was really impressive, and it starts from the top and it trickles down. I don't know if I have an answer for you in terms of who is better, Connor or Scheifele, but I probably would lean towards Mark Scheifele just because of the higher impact position he plays and the fact that he's able to do so many of these different things. And part of that is including shutting down the Rob Thomas line once again. And the Rob Thomas line looked different this past game. This Jordan Kyrou got the promotion there. And I don't have a lot of insight on the decision making of Jim Montgomery since November with the St. Louis Blues. I'm not going to pretend I do, but there definitely was an element of spreading the wealth with not playing those two players together. It's not because Jordan Kyrou is not a first line caliber player that he wasn't playing with Rob Thomas. It's to kind of separate that a little bit. And he put him back up on that first line. And again, good game from these players. They're really, really fun to watch. Like, they're great. Like, but man, oh man, like Mark Scheifele was just able to take it to them once again. So I got to give them some love. But I need to ask you, like, did we see some Cole Perfetti action up with Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor by over the course of that game? Are we seeing a little bit of that? Given that a try?
We did, and we have. And here's why. After penalty kills, where Alex Iafallo is the first guy over the boards with Adam Lowry, they run Connor, Scheifele, Perfetti until the next TV timeout. So we didn't see it once. We saw it twice in that game because there was a few penalty kills as well. As for the goal,
and it took a long time to get to the TV timeout that time too. Like, we had a really, really late one yesterday.
We saw it a few times. And it happens after a power play too. Like, you'll see Adam Lowry go out there with sometimes Jared Anderson Dolan and Brandon Tatum, and it's like, what's going on here? Well, those guys aren't on the power play. But we did see it a few times in that game. I'm not sure what happened in the goal because that was like to start the third period, and I don't think there was a penalty kill to start the third. I could be wrong on that. I could be remembering it wrong. The game was just last night. But Cole Perfetti was out there with Kyle Connor, and it was a heck of a one-touch pass from him to Kyle Connor, and he buried it with the lightning quick release. I will say, Cole Perfetti, I mean, the whole Jets team got crunched the first 10 minutes of game one, but Cole Perfetti, especially a few times, got hit really, really hard. I don't think he got hit hard once in game two. I think he managed the physicality really well.
It's so funny that you say that, because that's something that I wanted to bring up a little bit too, just in terms of this was a game of I said this on Sunday in terms of just a little bit of fire with fire, but the Jets just have better fire than the St. Louis Blues do. It was really funny watching them come out, and it's the Winnipeg Jets are just a better hockey team than the St. Louis Blues, flat out, and I say that with a lot of confidence. And they can come out and they can beat the St. Louis Blues in a few different ways if they need to. Sean Reynolds said this pretty eloquently on the Kenny and Rennie podcast last night in their post-game show, in that it's okay, they can win a game with depth scoring. They can win a game with Josh Morrissey God mode. They can win a game on special teams. They can win a game on Connor Hellebuyck, whatever. There are so many different ways the Winnipeg Jets can win hockey games because they just have so many different components to their lineup, which is what you need, because on any given night, you might need someone to step up a little bit more. And it's nice to know you have guys who are willing and able to do that. But where I'm going with this is that, I don't remember where I'm going with this. Oh, yes, I do. Is that in game one, the St. Louis Blues were trying to hit the lights out of the Winnipeg Jets. And the Winnipeg Jets in game two were okay, you want to do that? We can do that too. That's fine. Yeah. Go ahead. We can go tit for tat. Let's do it. And they played that game well too. The Winnipeg Jets can meet what the St. Louis Blues are throwing at them if they want to.
And I will say as well, that I think this is a good transition into the Logan Stanley hit. Because this was, and I heard some people say it last night on social media. I heard Hustler say it with his guests today, Kevin Sawyer and Jeff Hamilton on Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. It was Byfuglien-esque. It wasn't quite Byfuglien on Mark Stone, but it was pretty close. It was a pretty big hit. And look, we'll get into Logan Stanley in a second. I think his game is separate of the hit, but the hit was obviously the biggest impact he had on the night. And here's my kind of gripe. I'll let you go with this as well, Lyss, but I saw some people, Logan Stanley, I thought had a fine game last night. I thought he managed his minutes well. He was effective with the puck. He didn't make the big mistake, and he was physical. Not only did he have this huge hit on Kyrou that I'll get to in a second here, but he had a big hit on Robert Thomas later in the game too. He had another physical play in the third period where he barely played, but the Jets were just rolling Samberg and Morrissey and Shen basically the whole third because they were trying to play some defense, and Pionk and DeMello, of course. But the hit, I saw some people saying that it was a risky pinch, and I could not disagree with that take more. And yes, did Connor Hellebuyck have to make a tough save after? Absolutely. But I actually made a little WST deep dive-esque graphic for this list because
art skills coming out.
I could not wrap my head around that in the moment. Anyways, here we go. Let's bring it up. At the bottom left of your screen, you have one of the biggest hits you've ever seen. on Logan Stanley, on Jordan Kyrou, on the train tracks. Kyrou doesn't see him coming, absolutely crushes him. And then behind him, you have a completely normal 2-on-2. Like, I don't see anything wrong with this. I saw people online saying, oh, I don't know why he could really step up there. That's not a good decision. There was a 2-on-1 behind him. He has to make sure he has help. Like, Brandon Tanev's right on Oscar Sundqvist. If anything, Luke Schenn's gap between him and Zach Bolduc is a little long and ends up in a decent chance for Bolduc. But if you have a chance to hit Jordan Kyrou cleanly as hard as Logan Stanley did on this play, and this is the outcome of the play, you take this in a playoff series 100 times out of 100. I don't know if you disagree, Lyss, but that looks like a pretty normal 2-on-2 to me. I thought he picked his spot well. I thought it was a clean, hard hit. And if you're complaining about it, I think you just have Logan Stanley hate glasses on that hit. I personally think.
Yeah, no, I like the hit, right? Like, and I think that I like the way that you illustrated that as well, because you're right that is a hit that you take, especially when you have the angle that you do and the positioning of, a lot of people have described this, so I'm sure we've all heard the same commentary. I'm not going to go over all the same things once again, but Jordan Kyrou's attention's on Adam Lowry, not Logan Stanley, right? So you see that opportunity. Like, I agree with you. I think it's a good decision. Like, I have no qualms with the hit in that particular instance. It is funny and very like Logan Stanley discourse in a nutshell that, like, yeah, there was a grade A scoring chance afterwards. Like, it is kind of funny. Like, it is what it is, but he's not the first player I choose to blame for that scoring chance.
Agreed.
As an isolated event for sure.
Okay. So I agree with you on that. Now we can move on to Logan Stanley and the discussion coming out of the game, because I think this is a whole different discussion, like, did Logan Stanley play well? Yes. And I just laid out all the reasons why I thought he played well. He played 10 minutes, which is not much at all, even for a sixth defenseman. In the third period, I think he only had a shift or two. Like I said, Dylan Samberg played almost 25 minutes. Josh Morrissey was up around 22. They were rolling those guys all night long. I thought Logan Stanley played well in his very limited minutes, very sheltered minutes. And I think that's where the conversation really ends. There was a lot coming out of last night's game of people saying, well, Scott O'Neill knew, and Logan Stanley is going to make a massive impact on this series. And it's like, whoa. After game one, we were here on WST Sunday Live saying, well, the third pair didn't have that great of a game. Now I can say the third pair was great in game two. I not only liked Logan Stanley's game, I loved Luke Schenn's game. I thought he was very physical, didn't make the big mistake either. A few good first passes out of the zone. But let's not act like this is not a storyline going forward. That's where I'm at with the Logan Stanley thing. I know you have thoughts on it as well, Lyss, so I'll give you the floor now. I've talked enough.
Okay, I have a lot of thoughts, and I'll try and compile them into some sensical points here. But I think the first thing that I have to start with, and I always will start with, is that I think if you were someone who's been dunking on Logan Stanley for 6 or 7 years, you don't have to change your mind based on one thing that happened. If something can be rectified, if something can be changed in one single play, never mind one single game of hockey, it was never a problem to begin with. Okay. So if you're now, your mind is completely changed and you're like, oh, wow, this guy needs to be in the lineup every single night. This guy, this is the role that he plays, whatever. You either didn't have that strong of an argument beforehand, or like you need to just tone it down for a second here. Like, I think people shouldn't, I've said this about Connor Hellebuyck before, right? I can't throw out a sample of 82 games for a sample of 5. It's the exact same thing here. Yeah. I want to talk about, though, I don't have a theory, but I'm going to refer back to one of my old theories, because I always have theories. And this is an ongoing one that I refer everything back to when I'm talking with Connor and Jacob all the time. And it's this idea that we evaluate hockey players by looking at moments, and we evaluate hockey players by looking at large samples. And sometimes we understand that samples are made up of moments, but moments, not every face-off is the exact same. Not every penalty you take is the exact same, right? There's a huge difference between taking a tripping penalty in the first minute of a hockey game versus flicking the puck over the ice or over the glass when you're up by a goal and there's 3 minutes left in the game. Huge difference between those types of penalties, right? So that's something that we talk about, how samples are so important because they tell the story of everything that's going on in the ice. But sometimes you can look at isolated plays, isolated moments, and take away different things. Logan Stanley is a really interesting one when it comes to the moments versus the sample, because we know that the sample is not great in terms
Yeah.
of a lot of different things. This is a game where if this is the sample, we have 10 minutes of ice time, we have only neutral zone starts, and we have an over 60% expected goal share. That is a sample that I take every single day of the week. I am more than happy with the sample here.
Yeah.
And then if we talk about the moments, if the moments in this game are that you crush the best player on the St. Louis Blues with a hit, and after that play, the player is not the exact same for the rest of the game, if that's your good moment, I'm on board. I'm 100% on board. If you have a moment like the Kuzmenko goal at the end of the season against the LA Kings, those things kind of cancel each other out. So in a game like this, if Logan Stanley can manage to toe a line of his sample being really positive in the sense of, like you said, they had a good game. His ice time was limited. He didn't have a lot of high danger starts or anything like that. They also didn't waste a ton of offensive zone face-off wins on him being in the ozone either. Like, I think they managed him exactly how they should have for having last change. And you can deliver a hit like that and have that type of isolated impact at one moment in the game. You can keep him in the lineup for as far as I'm concerned. I'm 100% on board, but I still cannot shake this feeling that I have had for so many years now that it's like, okay, especially in a series that's as tight checking as this one is right now with the Winnipeg Jets and the St. Louis Blues, where you talk about Jimmy Snuggerud trying to go through the legs there or whatever, that play goes in, it's a completely different game. There's such a small margin for error here, and I'm still not super confident in Logan Stanley's ability to manage the margin for error that is so important to, win in this matchup, right? Because either team here ends up on the wrong side of screwing up in those little moments. It's the team that's going to lose the game. And he is still the player that I have lesser confidence in to manage those particular moments. Was this a good game? 100%. I'm on board with whatever happened in that game. If he can do that again, I'll stop complaining. I just feel like there's still enough of a pattern of whether it be that pairing or that player as an individual that I'm not 100% sold yet, but a hit like that can have a huge impact. So I'm on board.
And we're giving Logan Stanley credit, as we should, because over the course of the year, the third pair, and Logan Stanley specifically, was the punching bag for this year's Winnipeg Jets, both on social media, on our show. We labeled it as probably the main concern for the Winnipeg Jets going into the playoffs. And if he's only, I 100% agree with everything you said. If he's going to play 10 minutes and that's going to be the sample, and he's going to have big moments like that, I'm all in, because that hit changed the course of the game. Like you said, Jordan Kyrou was not the same player the rest of the game. And I think this is part of the Logan Stanley, lightning rod to his game, where he's 6'7". You want him to be physical, but he's not quite the most physical player, or doesn't play to that size nearly enough. But then now and then he'll have hits like this where you're like, holy moly, we need to see that more often from Logan Stanley. He had one late in the season against Anaheim. He had this one on Jordan Kyrou. And someone like Luke Schenn will have a big hit every game, or like be tough to play against every single game. You just haven't got that consistency from Stanley. But if you can get it in the playoffs, who cares, right? Who cares what he did on a random Sunday against the Buffalo Sabres 3 months ago? If he can do it last night, and he can do it again Thursday, like this is the time of year where if he's going to step up and he's going to do this, Jets fans should be all in. And if the Jets are only going to play him 10 minutes, I think you're getting a win-win if you're a Jets fan who still isn't on board the Logan Stanley train. They're running Josh Morrissey and Dylan Samberg, and in Logan Stanley's 10 minutes, he wasn't that bad. He was a positive player, and he had the huge hit in a big moment. So
I love the versatility that it provides to do some mixing and matching Build-A-Bear with the defensive lineup, right?
Totally.
Because I love this concept of Dylan Samberg as we saw it yesterday, where he leads the team in ice time, because hell yeah. And he plays most of his minutes with Neil Pionk, because I think that's the best use of that particular group. But then you throw him out for some penalty killing shifts, some late game shifts, some important D-zone draws with Luke Schenn, and double shift Dylan Samberg, for lack of better terms, right? Like, I think that is the right configuration of that kind of bottom four with the D-core there. And I think that it takes a little bit less off of Logan Stanley's play as well, which I think is good. I think that, I'm not trying to dunk on the guy as much as I have for, quite some time. That's not what I'm trying to do, because I think there are lots of players out there that are more effective when their matchups and their opportunities are a little bit more condensed and controlled. They can be a lot better, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a matter of how you manage that, and if everyone else can compensate. And in the case of the Winnipeg Jets decor, they can't. So I'm happy with it.
Yep. And I think that's where we should leave it, because the Logan Stanley discussion, like we've said many times on the show, can go on and on quite a while. And we both said our piece. He played a great game. And if he can do that again in game 3, Jets fans should be all in on that. Jeff Cabilla is saying, I'm going to Logan Stanley someone at ball hockey tomorrow. A, I hope it's a non-contact league. And B, I hope you don't leave your feet. Don't use your elbows. Keep it clean if it is a contact league, because that was a massive hit. Lyss, is there anything else you want to bring up from last night's game or the series in general before we get to our segments, trending up, trending down, and one burning question?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with potentially some Gabe Vilardi health coming up soon, because I think we don't know about that for sure. But I will say, like, again, there's been a lot of positive commentary about this game, and rightfully so. But I got to tell you, I'm still pretty uninspired by this middle six as a whole, and especially kind of going forward. Like, Cole Perfetti is the only second line player, in my opinion, in that group of middle six guys that they're running right now. And I've seen some comments about Mason Appleton in the chat. And listen, Brandon Tanev is fun as hell. Don't get me wrong. I think I like him with Lowry, and I think there's a lot of potential. But Alex Iafallo dropping down into that middle six, I think would give them such a facelift. And I think that there would be so much potential for that to just rejuvenate this team and give them that balanced lineup that they have, been so proud of themselves for having for so long. I really think that that's what's coming, and I think that that's the right call. I know that a lot of people are concerned about splitting up Connor Scheifele, Iafallo, but I think that this might be the best decision kind of for the whole team if Gabe can, be healthy in the next 2-3 games here. I think we might be in for some really, really fun 12 forwards worth of hockey.
Yeah, and just to use Scott O'Neill's words from today's skate, he did say maybe when asked about Gabriel Vilardi potentially being an option for game 3. And he said, we'll see what color his jersey is tomorrow. It's going to be a full practice for the Winnipeg Jets down at Canada Life Center at 11. And like Scott O'Neill said, we'll see what color Gabriel Vilardi is wearing. I still would list him doubtful for game 3, because that would say he comes to practice tomorrow in a full contact jersey and takes full contact. That's still his first full contact skate in over a month. So I'd still, err on the side of he's not going to play Thursday night at 8:30. But with another 2-day break going into Sunday's game at noon, could he be an option for that game? And then I think absolutely he's an option for game 5 next Wednesday if we get to there and the Jets don't sweep this series, because then that is now a week from today, where he might even take contact tomorrow at practice. And a week from that is he's definitely in at that point. So Gabriel Vilardi nearing a return. Make sure you brush up on your Macarena dances down at Canada Life Center. The whole whiteout doing the Macarena would be quite the sight to see, and be a big boost for the power play 100%, because the power play has been struggling a little bit in this series so far. And that would be a big boost, especially to get such a dynamic player, shooter, passer, stick handler in Gabe Vilardi back into the lineup. We did just get a Corey Ash super chat. Thank you so much. Can't wake up on Sunday appreciation. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning into this late night Tuesday bonus content edition of WST Sunday Live on a Tuesday. We really appreciate it. There are hockey games on right now. The Carolina Hurricanes, and if you're PVRing, mute me real quick, but the Carolina Hurricanes defeated the New Jersey Devils just now 3-1. They're now up 2-0 in that series. And the Toronto Maple Leafs are up 2-0 on the Ottawa Senators. I see a lot of people in chat that they're cheering for the Sens. They're hoping that they can make this a series. And the Battle of Florida gets started right away here. It says 7:30, but we're well past 7:30 here locally. Puck drop is soon for the Battle of Florida, and that is the series I'm most excited for across the NHL.
Phone's going on DND after this is done. We're locking in.
We're locking in for sure. Well, let's lock in, Lyss, to trending up or trending down. This is the part of the show where we pick a player who has trended up or down for the Winnipeg Jets, usually over the past week of play. But our last show came after game 1. This show's coming after game 2. So we've only got one game to choose from for trending up, trending down. And in the playoffs, we're going to do a clean slate for every single pick for trending up, trending down. Usually we make it so that we can't pick the players from last week, but we're not going to be doing that in the playoffs. There's too many games, and we're doing too many shows to do that. So every single player is on the board. Hit the chat room down below and let us know your pick for trending up, trending down. And if you're enjoying the stream, make sure you hit the like button as well here on a Tuesday evening. We really appreciate it. Breaking down the Winnipeg Jets with a 2-0 series lead over the St. Louis Blues. Lyss, I'll let you go first. Who's your pick for trending up?
Whew. Okay, for trending up, I'm going to go with a guy who I feel like hasn't gotten a ton of attention in our show today. I'm going to go with Dylan DeMello. I think Dylan DeMello had a really nice game yesterday, and I think that he's a guy who we haven't talked about a lot, all things considered, for much of this year. He's a guy who's been really steady, and in terms of, I'm going to make an assumption here, and you guys can correct me if you think that I'm way off base on this, but in terms of a guy who has been so locked into a top pairing defenseman role, I feel like we talk about him less than we talk about almost any other 1A, 1B defenseman in the entire NHL. Obviously, he's the 1B. I know that. But he plays top pairing, and nobody ever really has to say a whole ton about him because he is so dang steady. And, you know, you mentioned when we raved about Dylan Samberg's game, but there are a lot of, you know, shades of Dylan Samberg's game that I like similar things in Dylan DeMello's. The little stick plays on the blue line. I always have said this, but I feel like he deserves a little bit more offensive credit. I like his decision making on the offensive blue line. I think that there's a lot to really like about this player's game. And I think I said this earlier in the show, I didn't like the game of a lot of the defensemen, if not all of them in game one. I thought a lot of them could have taken another step, and a guy like Josh Morrissey, even still, there's another gear there. We know we haven't seen God mode Josh Morrissey yet for sure, but I thought Dylan DeMello looked awesome yesterday, and he's a guy who needs to have a big series in order for the Jets to continue progressing through the playoffs here, and I thought he was great.
Yeah, and he's a lot like Dylan Samberg in the sense where a lot of the plays he makes defensively you don't really notice. They're just subtle deflections at the blue line and things of that nature. And I like that pick because I thought Dylan DeMello had a really solid game too. I'm going to take Mark Scheifele. Speaking of another gear, you mentioned that there's another gear for Josh Morrissey to hit. Mark Scheifele has hit that other gear. And you had a good comment earlier about how he does all of this while maybe skating at like 50% of his actually full skating capability. Like he's never skating full speed, but he's just so surgical and so strong on the puck, so strong on the wall. And taking the puck to the net there on the goal that he scored. Again, lucky bounce, but you got to be lucky to win in the playoffs. And then the second goal, he wins not one, but two board battles below the goal line to get that puck to Cole Perfetti, who snaps a quick pass to Kyle Connor. And Cole Perfetti actually credited Mark Scheifele for that subtle play leading up to the goal that gave the Jets the win. So not only is Kyle Connor doing incredible things, finding open space in the middle of the ice and using his shot, but Mark Scheifele is doing so much good work to support Alex Iafallo on the forecheck and get those pucks to Kyle Connor as a playmaker. And he has 2 goals in 2 games. And I was reading Jacob's piece the other day. He said that since the beginning of the 2017-18 playoff run, Scheifele's 3rd in the NHL in goals per game in the playoffs. So this is a guy who
the outlier of 2017-18 was nuts though. Like
now that helps that stat a lot. But 2 goals through 2 games here. I'm really liking Mark Scheifele's game. And he's a player too that catches flack in the middle of the regular season, sometimes for not showing it all or taking shifts off defensively. But in the playoffs here, he's been fully engaged. And Jets fans should be really confident in what that top line is doing with Scheifele and Connor together.
He's one of those guys that I genuinely like. It's so funny. I'm like, only I can have an opinion on Mark Scheifele because I'm like, there are so many people out of market who are like, oh, like he's so bad or like he's not good enough. I'm like, but do you watch Mark Scheifele in the way that I do? Do you have 15 years worth of watching 82 games of Mark Scheifele like I do and have this like deep, like, I don't parasocial relationship is the wrong word, but it's like just, he's such a fascinating player to watch. And I'm like, I feel like there are so many people that don't appreciate him enough, but then I also understand why he catches so much flack, right? But it's like, it's almost like when someone insults your sibling, you know, when you're like, I can insult my sibling, but you can't insult because you don't get it. You don't have the depth here that I do.
It's like when someone insults Winnipeg. It's like, we can do it.
Right.
You
same
can.
thing. But I'm like, you just don't get it.
Exactly. Anyways, let's get to trending down. I'll let you go first for this one as well. A little bit tougher coming off of a big 2-0 series lead, but I do think there are some options here. So who do you have for trending down?
There are some options, but I'm gonna choose a lame one here. I'm gonna choose Joel Hofer as trending down.
Wow.
What the hell,
The
man?
heel.
Local boy Joel Hofer. I am loving / hating whatever is going on in these pregame warmies right now. Joel Hofer has become some weird villain for a guy who doesn't even sniff the ice during a game. I'm not really sure where he gets off here, but it's kind of funny that this has become such a thing. And so he gets my trending down. Come on, Joel Hofer.
Come on, Joel Hofer. Stop shooting.
I've ever told you that my random piece of lore is that there's a video on the St. Louis Blues TikTok page where Joel Hofer is lip syncing to my voice.
Oh yes, I think you've told me this before.
It's such a random, like, I don't even know. It's like you scroll past that and you're like, that's not what? Okay, Joel Hofer.
Well,
so
you and Joel Hofer,
Starbuck Hockey Academy legend right there.
There you go. Yeah, and shout out to the crowd. I mean, the Winnipeg Whiteout, a lot of people are in their seats for warm up, and everyone was booing Joel Hofer. And funny enough, Scott O'Neill was asked about this today and said that the league is actually going to take a look at it, and that's not shocking to me because warm up ended, and then Scheifele and Hofer stayed out for another 5 minutes and probably delayed puck drop. And Hofer was just firing pucks down at the net. Scheifele was doing his superstition, can't come off the ice late enough or until he's the last guy. And like the Zambonis need to clean the ice. Jets need to get to their pregame stuff. The puck drop needs to happen. Like, I'm not shocked that the league is kind of getting in the way of this. And like Hofer's firing pucks at Scheifele too. Like,
I know. I feel like that's the more like consequential part of it, where it's like you're supposed to, I don't even know, it's one of those things where it's like I don't know where the written rule is, because I feel like the unwritten one is clear enough where it's like you stay on your side of the ice, buddy. Like that's how you do it. That's how you've done it since you were in squirts. Like I don't really know. Like that's interesting. It'll be interesting to see if anything comes of that.
Yeah, Matt Hyman here saying nothing wrong with Hofer staying.
Exactly.
The issue. You see players do that to Scheifele.
The Tyler Seguin, Mark Scheifele. Exactly.
Yeah, to annoy him. And then funny enough, I tweeted out that Joel Hofer was shooting pucks at the net. He was doing that. And then the first start of the game was Mark Scheifele. So I quote tweeted Joel Hofer, my tweet saying Joel Hofer shooting pucks at Mark Scheifele in warm up, with the video of Mark Scheifele celebrating as the first start of the game. So clearly didn't really work. And I did hear people ask, did he do this in game one as well? He did, not nearly for as long. He did it for maybe a minute. But he hit Scheif
with a puck.
Yeah, he did it for maybe a minute or two, not 5 or whatever game 2 was. That got ridiculous by the end. And I mean, people in the building were mad, and Mark Scheifele went out and played mad. So I don't know if it really worked for sure. Anyways, my pick for trending down, I'm not going to cop out. I'm going to take a real Jets player. I'm going to take Nino Niederreiter. I feel like
honestly, I was gonna pick a different guy. I thought there was an easy answer here, and you picked a different one. So okay.
There's a easier answer. I don't know. I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll get to it after. Nino Niederreiter. That second line, I feel like there's another gear there. Vlad Nemestikov had a really decent game, I thought, in game 2. Like, he had that nice move inside out, fed Mason Appleton backdoor, who got robbed by Jordan Binnington. And that would have obviously changed things at that point of the game, and for our opinions on these players as well, if they connected for a highlight reel 2-on-1 goal. But Nino Niederreiter, I feel like the chemistry just isn't there with that Niederreiter, Nemestikov, Perfetti line as much as it needs to be. Like, you see the Scheifele line come out there, and they're snapping it around. Obviously, they're not going to be as good as the Jets' top line, but then the third and fourth lines play a very direct style. There isn't much chemistry there because they're not, making plays in tight spaces and stuff like that. But that second line, they're looking to make those short area passes into high danger spots, and they're just not connecting on them right now. And Nino Niederreiter, I feel like, is not contributing enough off the rush. On the cycle, we know he's great, but that's not really this line's game with the Nemestikov and Perfetti, is like a cycle game. So do I think Nino Niederreiter is going to bounce back and have a good couple of games here? Absolutely. I think his game is built for the playoffs, but with that line, I just don't know if he meshes there completely. So my trending down pick is going to be Nino Niederreiter. Who is the easier one, Lyss?
I think Mason Appleton has looked a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah, like there's something about, and maybe it's not his fault, just in the sense of, I really like Adam Lowry and Brandon Tanev. I love their intensity. Sure. I love their style of game. And like Mason Appleton plays a weird role on that line in the sense of he's almost like the finisher. Like he's like almost like supposed to be like the fancier one there, right? Like, right. The other two guys are a little bit more, they tend to be the F1, or they tend to be the guy who's going in for the tough battle, or whatever you want to call it. And you see Mason Appleton get some more of those grade A chances. Like, I don't know. Like, I just think that he's in a position to look a little bit more vulnerable in the sense of, you're like, how do you not score that goal? How do you not, have a little bit of a higher impact there? And I just feel like, I don't know. I just think that if you were to throw even someone like one of these top 6 guys that's coming back from injury in the next few weeks, hopefully for the Jets, or, Alex Iafallo or someone else on that line, even like put Nino Niederreiter there. I know Brandon Tanev's the guy who gets the demotion when more guys are healthy. Like, I think you might see a little bit more high danger offense from that line if you had someone just a little bit different there, because I just really do like what Lowry and Tanev are kind of creating.
Yeah, for sure. And Brandon Tanev is a guy who, I said it with Nino Niederreiter, he's built for the playoffs. He's built to play in front of the whiteout, just like running through everything in sight. And and T Will here, I say let the Blues score on the net and warm up. It's the only way they can score. Through 2 games of this series, they only have the one even strength goal. And their other 3 or 4, no, other 3, and then they got 1. Yeah, all came on the power play. So their power play has been red hot. I mean, the Jets killed off 3 straight in game 2, which was huge to them getting that win. But even strength 5-on-5, this Jets team is absolutely locking things down right now. And yeah, Joel Hofer scoring on the net in warm up. Maybe that's they're trying to see some pucks go in. It's like an NBA great shooter who's having a rough game. He just gets a free throw, sees the ball go in, and then he gets red hot. Maybe that's what Joel Hofer's going for there. But that was trending up, trending down. Thank you so much, everyone in the chat, for participating. We really appreciate it. And thank you for joining us here on a Tuesday night, WST Sunday Live, a little bonus content edition as the series shifts back to St. Louis. And let's dive right in, Lyss, because I see the Battle of Florida has started, and I definitely want to go and watch that game. Let's get let's go. Let's get to one burning question. The segment, the part of the show where we open up the chat room to questions from the fans. Hit the chat room, ask us anything you want to hear from us regarding the Winnipeg Jets, this series so far, maybe the matchups going back to St. Louis. We want to hear from you. So hit the chat room, drop your one burning question below. And Lyss, my one burning question to you is, what an incredible slate of hockey games last night that we had after the Winnipeg Jets game, where Dallas and Colorado went to OT, and then LA was up 5-2. Edmonton tied it and then lost it in the final 40 seconds there. And I think my overarching takeaway from it is, I don't know if I'll ever see a player as dominant as Connor McDavid in my lifetime again. That was my takeaway from the night. Like, oh my goodness, what a period.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, like last night's games were awesome. Like, I mean, 2 clutch Ovechkin goals, like, I think is such a fun thing to do. But then seeing the underdog scrappy Montreal Canadiens claw their way back into that one and force the overtime was super exciting. Like, there's so much to like about that. Dallas taking a win off of Colorado to, leave their homestand at least at 500 as opposed to down 2-0 is huge. Obviously, Winnipeg Jets fans want those teams to beat the crap out of each other so that they have a different opponent as opposed to a fully healthy, fully ready, raring to go Colorado Avalanche team. Yeah. Also, Gabe Landeskog's debut, which was fun in and of itself. But if you're looking for bad vibes from the Colorado Avalanche, they didn't win in his debut, right? So, I mean, there's that too. And then what else is there to say about that LA Edmonton game, man? Oh my gosh, I was pretty locked in on that one. And, watching LA actually have a power play now and watching Connor McDavid do Connor McDavid things, like, it's just, that series, I was like, guys, it's going to be fun. It's going to be an awesome series to watch this year. Nobody believed me. No, that's not true. A lot of people were like, I'm tired of it. And I was like, that's fair. But we got the theatrics yesterday, and I hope we get 6 more games of that theatrics because I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, and I was saying to you just before we went live that I picked the Oilers to win that series just because I couldn't live with myself picking against Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, no matter how healthy those guys are. And I think I feel as good as I possibly could with that pick, with the Oilers being down 1-0. Like, Connor McDavid absolutely took that game over in the third period. He was not going to let the Edmonton Oilers lose, and then they did on like a knuckle puck where the Hart Trophy candidate Leon Draisaitl was a step behind on the back check. I digress, but anyways.
No, I mean, in that game, that series, and we can move on to the burning questions in a second. I'll just get my last bit on it, is that I think in that series, it's whoever gets to play their game is going to win the series. And a 6-5 game with a bajillion goals in the third period is an Edmonton Oilers game, not an LA Kings game. So I feel better about your pick than I do about mine right about now.
True, absolutely. And before we get to the one burning questions, we have another super chat. Thank you so much, T. Konopoli, $5 super chat. Connor, YouTube Nolan and Brown pregame brawl holds up Hockey Night in Canada. Then we can talk about shooting pucks at the net. Yeah, I guess that's a good point. Shooting pucks at the net is pretty harmless until you see some big time brawls. That is for sure. Okay, let's get to the one burning questions. I see them flowing in. When do we see God Mode JMO? This is a great question. He had an awesome shift in game 2 in the second period where he was flying around, had a high danger chance or 2, set up 1 as well. But for a full game, we'll see it in St. Louis in one of these next 2 games, is my prediction. Lyss?
Yeah, I think we see God Mode Josh in round 2. I think the Jets get there, and I think that's when we see Josh. I think he's going to be good, but I think it's I put it in the same category as Gabe Velarde coming back from injury or whatever. He doesn't need to do it right now, so it's okay. He can keep that in his pocket, and then he'll bring it out when he needs to.
For sure. Okay, I like that take. Is St. Louis targeting Helly's high glove / blocker? Yes,
or blocker specifically.
Yeah, every time they have a chance, they're shooting high blocker. Yeah, and like that's whatever. I mean, like there's a scouting report on every goalie, and they're gonna shoot high blocker all the time. Connor Hellebuyck needs to be aware of that, and he is. And he stopped 21 of 22 shots in game 2. So I don't think it's an issue. I know that's not the question. The question isn't an issue. But yes,
the answer to the question is yes, though.
Yes, they are for sure. And that is something I noticed. Game 1, game 2, they're firing at high blocker all the time.
It's one of my favorite random things to watch for in a game, especially when an opposing goalie comes to town. It's like, hey, where are they shooting? What's the book today?
And like it's very evident too, because like a team will get 5 scoring chances in a period or something, and all of them will be like high blocker. And it's like, all right, that's clearly the spot on the goaltender that they are told to shoot at. The Cat in the Hat asks, which line will contribute next to scoring? Adam Lowry line? 4th line? Get back into it? Perfetti?
The Cole Perfetti line is going to contribute to scoring next. I feel it coming from our dog there. I think I think it's bound to happen pretty soon for Cole Perfetti. I've liked his last 2 games, so color me shocked that we don't make it through an episode without me, jumping on the Cole Perfetti bandwagon. But I'm also not just the driver of the Cole Perfetti bandwagon, I'm also the manufacturer of the vehicle. So you know what, I have to play the bit. So
I took like 20 minutes of this show to rant about Dylan Samberg, so it's only fair that you get some on Cole Perfetti as well. Turd Ferguson asks, I'd like to hear Lyss's thoughts on the Jets being called frauds and the embarrassment against Colorado, hardening this team's resolve, making this year what it has been. This has been a very like overarching theme to this year, is the disappointment to Colorado last year, being called frauds, being frauds. Like if we're calling a spade, they were last year, and how they've bounced back from it. So Lyss, your thoughts on that?
Earlier this season, I had a conversation with Jacob Stoller where I was explaining to him, guess what, guys? A theory. I was like, hey, Jacob, I have a theory. I've explained this to some other people before, and I said, I think a team needs to have 3 things to win a Stanley Cup. And obviously we could talk about, okay, the goaltending, the 1A defenseman, all these different things. But I was like, in terms of like more holistic ideas or concepts, I said they need to have good enough players. Like you need to have the building blocks of being good enough on paper. Like you just need to have good enough players. 2, you need to have mental toughness. You have to be able to kind of manage all the different things that come with playoff hockey, the highs and lows of high school football, right? Like you need to have that mental toughness. And then the third thing is that I was like, you need to have adaptability. And the Winnipeg Jets last year got a 50% passing grade for me because I think they had good enough players. And I think the mental toughness, I wasn't really ready to write home about how terrible that was or anything like that. But it was the adapting that failed them last year in the playoffs. And they only got a 50% on that, 3 criteria list. But Jacob was like, I think there's a 4th criteria, and I think you need to have a little bit of heartbreak. And he talked to me a little bit about how, we look at, okay, this President's Trophy curse. You look at these teams that have won President's Trophies and had, these devastating playoff exits and all these sorts of things and come back and won cups the next year or the year after and whatnot. Yeah. Like there is a lot you have to learn from losing in high stakes games. And we know that this core of Winnipeg Jets players has certainly lost some pretty high stakes games in the last couple of years. So I definitely think that we've seen, and game 1 was a testimonial of that, right? Where it's like the not folding under the pressure of being down in a game where you shouldn't be down, and just coming back and playing your game and all those cliches. I think that the Winnipeg Jets they were frauds last year for sure. Like, I think that it's so hard not to call them that when you look at the result, and whether it's underlying or how they finished the playoffs. Like, they did not live up to what many people thought they probably should. And so, yeah, those are my long-winded thoughts. I think that hardening the team's resolve, I think that that's a great way to put it. Like, I think this team, like, what's the Kyle Connor quote? It's like, we don't talk about it too much, the exit last year, but we're aware of it, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of the be-all end-all of it.
Yeah, and one thing that in the regular season I thought really showed that this team was ready for the playoffs was their ability to rise to the occasion in big games. Like,
and never having 2 bad games in a row.
Yeah, 100%. Like the LA game, they bounced back and shut out Vegas on the road. The Florida home and home early in the season, they bounced back and beat Florida. The 2 Dallas games that we spent all week talking about how these are the biggest games. The second Dallas game was the biggest regular season game in Jets franchise history, right? And they showed up and dominated that game. And it's like a team that knows when to get up for these games and plays well in those games. I thought was a great sign of a team that's learning from past mistakes for sure. And I thought you answered that well for sure. Kenny's water bottle. Does the standard for a penalty in this series surprise you? And what is worse for the Jets, if they continue to call things this way or if it suddenly changes? It's
a great question. Kenny's water bottle. Question.
Kenny's water bottle. Bringing the heat.
Always bringing the heat. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. First question, does the standard for a penalty in this series surprise you? Absolutely, yes. It does.
Yes.
Some very soft calls, both sides, not just on the Jets, on the Blues as well. Very surprising to me. I still think it's worse if it suddenly changes, because I think if players are guessing what a penalty is, which I guess they're already doing, so maybe it's not. Maybe that's not my thoughts on if it continues to call things this way or if it suddenly changes. I will say with the special teams going the way that they are right now, it's probably better if they started calling less for the Winnipeg Jets, because I think they've been the better team in like a lot of the 5-on-5 minutes so far in this series. But I will say also, when Gabe Vilardi comes back, like, then you'll want them to start calling penalties again, because then the Jets power play will be better than it is right now, so with Vilardi in the lineup, I'd say keep calling things the way that they are. From a player's perspective, I would assume that they want the standard to remain the same, but the standard is just so soft so far through 2 games that I can't imagine that that's a good thing, Liz.
But yeah, I say the more of this series you can play off 5-on-5, the better. Just kind of as a flat answer to that one. So I think if it changes, I think that the Winnipeg Jets are in okay shape. But I mean, it shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone that I think that the Jets are in okay shape, just regardless. So
regardless, yes, for sure. And with a 2-0 series lead, that is the case. Jeff Kabilis and Doug Thorowski both asking when the lineup is fully healthy, when Vilardi's back, what do the lines look like, Lyss?
So, okay, fully healthy versus just Vilardi is a big difference to me, because I think fully healthy, they're going to go back to Connor Scheifele. I was going to say Connor Scheifele Wheeler. Oh my God. I'm sorry, guys. That's not what I meant. They're going to go back to Connor Scheifele Vilardi. I'm just going to gloss over that and talk to my therapist about it later. And I think they're going to go Cole Perfetti, Vlad Nemestikov, Nikolai Ehlers is the top 6, and then some configuration of the guys, probably the regular. But actually, maybe I shouldn't say that, because I think Alex Iafallo has really, really earned a look up there. But I think obviously like he's dialed to 100 right now in terms of what his contribution has been. But there have been a lot of times that Alex Iafallo has had to step up in the lineup, done great, and then gone right back to the 4th line, because that's just kind of what his job is to do. So, but for having this positive of a result for this long of a time at this important time of a year, like, I feel like he deserves a little bit more love than getting demoted back to a line with like Jared Anderson-Dolan or something. But like, I think fully healthy, I'm going to go with what I said. But Vilardi back in the lineup, I think there's going to be, I think Jacob mentioned this on Sunday. And I think hold on. I'm trying to remember what his answer was, because his had Ehlers in it or something. But I'm going to go Connor Scheifele, Vilardi. And then I'm going to go with some iteration of like Alex Iafallo, Adam Lowry, maybe some Cole Perfetti, maybe some Nino Niederreiter, like a little bit more of an interesting middle 6 there that does include Alex Iafallo in the middle. And I don't know, man. Like, I think Brandon Tanev deserves to stay in that mix as well. I think that having him on a line with someone a little bit more skilled, I think could be really, really fun to see how that would work in the ozone.
Yeah, I'm with you on that with Brandon Tanev for sure. I will say Connor Scheifele-Velarde, I think, is going to be back the second that Gabriel Velarde's back. What you do with Alex Iafallo, I think he's earned a top 6 role. Before Nikolai Ehlers comes back, I think you'll see Connor Scheifele-Velarde and then Iafallo, Nemesnikov, Perfetti. And then they'll slide Niederreiter back down to the third line, slide Tanev back down to the fourth, and roll with that to start. But just know, and also we should mention that in Gabe Velarde's first game back, he might be on the fourth line. Like they might not put him on the top line and play him 20 minutes in his first game back. They might put him on the fourth line and play him 12. You know
that, or it's like Alex Iafallo gets like is back on the fourth line or whatever,
right?
But then he takes every other Gabe Velarde shift or something like that. You know,
yeah, I could see that too, just to load manage his minutes a little bit for sure.
Especially considering, and I feel like the other factor here is just that like Gabe Velarde, I think. Again, I'm going to make an assumption and someone can correct me if they think I'm wrong. I bet you there is nobody on this team who is a regular in the lineup when healthy who has played less minutes away from 2 guys. Like he hasn't played basically any shifts. Like he was like demoted for a couple of random third periods here and there, but it's like you're more likely to see someone get bumped up into his spot and him like spend a bit of time on the bench or like not playing overtime or whatever than his line mates. So like I just don't see it working for him to play in such a high stakes game with someone he hasn't played with all year, especially when his game is so reliant on, obviously he's great on the boards and all those sorts of things, but in terms of like his high impact offensive, whether it's tip-ins, touch, whatever, like that's so reliant on chemistry, and we know he has it with the guys he plays with. So I don't know.
Totally. Nathan here asking, hey, do you guys think Velarde plays Thursday? Yeah, I don't think he plays Thursday. I think he'll play Sunday. I don't think so. I think he'll play Sunday.
I think I'm gonna go with that too, especially considering that today, 5 days from that, Scott Arniel saying we'll see what color his jersey is tomorrow.
Right.
Sunday sounds about right.
Sunday?
Yeah. I'm going to go Sunday as well.
Maybe it depends if they win Thursday.
I know. I was going to say something like that too. It's like,
yeah, maybe that'll be my take. But
oh my gosh, imagine.
I don't think he plays Thursday.
No, I agree with you. I'm going to say no to Thursday.
Yeah. I have followed with Barron creating fourth line chaos for their opponents. Hook it to my veins. Yeah. Like have 2 players on the Jets stock risen more than Iafallo and Barron over the last, like, I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Like, oh my goodness. What a asset to have those 2 players on a fourth line potentially. And let me tell you, if Iafallo and Barron were on the fourth line, they're playing a heck of a lot more than 7 minutes a night that the fourth line is playing right now. They're playing a lot more than that. I see the hockey games again. If you're PVRing, mute me real quick, but Leafs are up 2-0 still late in the second. The Florida Panthers took a 1-0 lead on the road. Sam Bennett, who didn't play down the stretch in the regular season, like half of the Florida Panthers team, he opened the scoring there. So let's get to these games lists. That's going to do it for this special Tuesday edition of WST Sunday Live. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here at a random time on a whim on the Winnipeg Sports Talk YouTube channel. We really appreciate it. And Lyss, anything you want to plug? Some fun street content coming out on the WST socials soon, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, I have lots of videos kind of in the bank. I've had some fun, and hey, it's so funny. Man, people will come up. Everyone's been so nice. It's been so nice to meet so many of you guys, but I do feel bad for everyone coming up to me at the wrong time and being like, hey, Lyss. I'm like, hey, would you like to be in a video? So if you folks see me on the street and I'm holding the WST mics, get ready, because I'm going to be asking you some fun questions. So definitely some fun content hitting the WST social channels over the next couple of weeks. And hey, if you have any fun ideas of things that you think I should be running around asking folks at the whiteout, let us know in the comments and let us know what you'd like to see, because I'm having a lot of fun with the social content. Winnipeg Jets fans are the greatest people in the world, and there's nothing I love more than the community of the Winnipeg Whiteouts. So getting to be out there with everybody, making the content with them is so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And the vibes have never been higher here in Winnipeg with a 2-0 series lead. Matt Hyman saying the Sens scored. That is awesome. Gonna get to
Let's go.
Battle of Ontario and Battle of Florida on right now, each 1 goal game.
Thank God for 2 screens. I was born in the right generation.
I'm gonna have to get the second screen out. Stanley Cup playoffs. It's everyone's got to step up this time
because it's the cup.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you everyone for joining us on a Tuesday night here. We really appreciate it. We'll be back Sunday at 9 a.m. Tune into Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily, as always, with Huss and Remo tomorrow morning. Tomorrow afternoon at 1 p.m. They don't go live at 9 a.m. They go live at 1 p.m. But we'll be back on Sunday with a regular edition of WST Sunday Live. That's going to be a game day edition, so make sure you join us for that. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We will see you on Sunday. Have a great week, everyone, and enjoy Game 3.